Stargate SG-1 is one of my favorite science fiction shows, and one major reason why that's the case is because the show often presents a high degree of scientific accuracy, which makes sense because it's from the same producers as it's from the same people who produced the new Outer Limits, which had a very high degree of scientific accuracy. In fact, the new Outer Limits often dealt with recent scientific discoveries and issues, and they really did a good job with a lot of their science in the new Outer Limits. And Stargate SG-1 had a similar setup with its high degree of scientific accuracy. Unfortunately, they goof every so often. One example is the time loop episode where O'Neill and Teal'c kept repeating the same day over and over again. At one point, they figured, hey, if we're going to be time looping, we can goof off every so often. And in one scene, you had O'Neill and Teal'c hitting golf balls into an active Stargate. And then O'Neill asks, hey, how far is this planet that I'm going to send this golf ball through? And Teal'c said several billion miles. That's inaccurate. Basic astronomy tells you that the closest solar system, the closest star beyond the solar system, is 25 trillion miles from Earth. Not billion, but trillion, which means several billion miles from Earth is just empty interstellar space. No planets, no nothing. Well, not necessarily no nothing, but yeah, let's just say basically no nothing. And I believe they said that the planet Abydos, which is the closest Stargate planet to Earth, was 40 light years away. And that's, I should have did the math, but that's significantly more than 25 trillion miles. But then there is some confusion about that. I have some confusion about that because maybe Abydos is closer than 40 light years, because I remember in the Stargate SG-1 spinoff Stargate Universe, the first episode dealt with a planet that was a Stargate planet that was 21 light years from Earth. So if Abydos is the closest Stargate planet, then it's probably closer than 21 light years. Yeah, but that was really lame and crappy. As I said before, the closest star outside the solar system is 25 trillion miles from Earth. Not billion, trillion. And a trillion is bigger than a billion. Like that. But the real problem, the biggest, most horrific scientific inaccuracy of Stargate SG-1 was an episode called Red Sky. This is how it worked. Okay. SG-1 landed on a planet whose sun was directly between Earth and the planet at that particular time of the year. When they got to the planet, if I remember correctly, the planet's name was Katau. Anyway, when they got to the planet Katau, the sky turned red, and they noticed that solar radiation from the planet was, like, let's say, altered to such an extent that green plants couldn't process the rays properly. Then they realized that because the the wormhole went through the sun, through the Katau sun, it also picked up some kind of heavy element, and it disrupted the sun's fusion process. And then they figured they got to fix that. So to fix it, they went to this scientist who generated this huge heavy element, like element 273 or something like that. And they said they're going to dump it. They're going to build a rocket on Katau to send it directly into the Katau sun with that element, and hopefully it'll restore the Katau sun to its normal, to its normalcy. Maybe I should stop right there. Now, there are a number of problems with this. first of all, the description of a cosmic wormhole in this episode was absolutely wrong. The term wormhole refers to an apple that has a worm on its surface. If the worm wants to travel from one end of the apple to the other, it could either go the long way along on the surface of the apple, or it could eat its way through the apple to get to the other side. That's where the expression wormhole comes from. Similarly, a cosmic wormhole does not exist in normal space. It exists in hyperspace or some other higher dimensional space, which means that the wormhole between Earth and K'tau would not have got anywhere near the K'tau sun. It would be in a higher dimension, the fourth dimension or some other such dimension. It would not have any contact with the K'tau sun. It would go around it in a higher dimension. That's how wormholes really work. I don't understand how they got that wrong, because I remember a previous episode where was Carter explained how wormholes work, and she explained it the same way I explained it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the problem was. I guess the person who wrote that previous episode knew some basics about how wormholes work, while the numbskull who wrote Red Sky didn't. Yep, what a shock from the creators of the new Outer Limits, who knew their science, to Red Sky, which is a bunch of garbage as far as science goes. Horrible, horrible garbage. It's about as bad as the 100. In the 100, science is absolute junk. That pissed me off. So as a consequence, I don't watch Red Sky anymore. I mean, it's a good episode dramatically, but it's a stupid episode scientifically. And as I've said before, it's important for science fiction shows to have scientific accuracy, because the more accurate the science is, the more likely the events of the science fiction show are to happen in real life. Which means that if there really was a Stargate command and SG units and Stargates and all that, if that really existed, Stargate wormholes generated by Stargates would not travel through normal space. They would travel through hyperspace. And they would not make contact with any other celestial object in the universe. They would only contact another Stargate. That's how it's supposed to work. Okay, one Stargate activates, wormhole travels through hyperspace, and it connects with another Stargate in normal space. Like that. I mean, how simple is that? But the numbskull who wrote Red Sky didn't even know that at all. I hope that person's actually seen this video. Very unlikely, of course, but it'd be great if that person saw that video and understood what a dumbass he or she is. Yeah, should have looked at the credits. Anyway, I think that should be enough to explain the scientific inaccuracy of Stargate SG-1, the most horrific scientific inaccuracy of Stargate SG-1. I think there's probably some more inaccuracies of the show, but I can't think of them, so I'll bring them up later. So until then, see you later, Ralph Nader.